legends, I hope you're all awesome. Let's take a look at the latest public beta release for the Axe-FX 3. This one is a release candidate for Firmware 23, so you've got the gapless switching, the new reverb types, and a whole bunch of other fun features in here. I'm just going to focus on the new reverb types in here, while I have done a video looking at some of the new spring types and another video looking at some of the new plate types. There's a bunch of new big spaces added in here. For example, these cathedral types in here. There's a few new church-inspired reverbs, and there's stuff like the Marble Hall, Mausoleum, and Mechanics Hall, which sound pretty fantastic. We'll start out with a little bit of the new gold plate reverb on here. I think this is my new favorite overall. You can see 1.5 seconds of time on there, mix around 12%. I'm using the Princeton reverb model with the matching Dynacab at the moment, which sounds beautiful on the single coil mode of this DGT. That is beautiful. Let's add a little bit of the tube spring up front. I'll let you hear a few of the different spring reverb types. Again, I'm going to play around with some of the spring parameters in here, namely the drip and the spring tone in here. This really lets you customize, as you can guess, how drippy or bright or dark you want the reverb to be. So this is just the tube spring at the stock settings to start out. You can play around with the number of springs on there, the tank type. You've got a parallel or a series parallel set up in there, and add a little bit of drive. Personally, I think it's much easier to just surf through some of the types, pun intended right there, until you find one that you like. The British spring and the studio spring are probably my two favorite spring types in here. I'll let you hear just a bit of studio spring at the stock settings. This one, if you combine it with a little bit of chorus after the amp and cab, is pretty cool if you want that like Robbie Blunt 80s thing as well. So I'll let you just hear it on its own, then we'll add the chorus. course, spring reverb and tremolo together is a beautiful thing. You've got the Axe-Fx 3, you can go to the amp block power tubes and cathode follower, and you've got a built-in bias tremolo on the FM9 or FM3. Just dial up a trem block and set it to the bias trem. I like this with the frequency a little lower. That Vibrato King spring reverb, I'm actually just going to turn the mix up a little bit more on it, and we get this. All right, let's have some fun with some reverb after the amping cab. I've switched over to the Brit 800 for now. You can grab my free blocks library that's linked in the video description and get these settings. Again, gold plate with the mix down a little bit and the time down a little bit is just beautiful for some crunch. I have to play a little bit of Michael Schenk. Alternatively, it sounds pretty awesome at the stock settings if you like a little bit of extra reverb. One thing that I have been enjoying on here is like basically any reverb I like on dirty guitars, go to the EQ section, add a little bit of low cut on there somewhere above 200 Hertz. And then with the new plate types, if you go to the advanced tab, you can set the pickup spacing for the virtual plate. So if you kind of push this out a little bit, it will give you a little bit more stereo width. This one's even more fun with a little bit of a phase 90 up front and, a dual delay out the back. You get this. That gold plate, as I said before, it's just beautiful on just about any source, but I particularly like it with those Marshalls. Let's hear some of the new types in here. I've gone over to the USA lead mid-gain for a monstrously filthy lead tone, and I've got the new Marble Hall reverb in here at stock settings. One thing that I think is really cool on here is you can set the pre-delay up to give you delay plus reverb. I'll let you just hear the reverb at the stock settings, and we will hear all these types with a clean sound in just a little bit. But what I'm going to do is let you hear that, then I'm going to change the tap on here to input, dial in a bit of pre-delay, and I'll get a really nice echo plus reverb. Those settings on there with the marble hall set up for a delay and reverb by changing that tap to the input and playing with the pre-delay is what I used for all the ambience on that little intro solo, and I'll play a little bit more at the end of the video. But for now, let's go back to the Princeton and let's hear some of these new types in here just at the stock settings. So what I'm going to do is pin this reverb selection menu over here. You can see that I've highlighted a lot of the new types in here. Basically, green is for the springs, yellow is for the plates, and then reds are the new types that aren't springs or plates. So we'll start out with the marble hall. A few standouts for me on there. The Mausoleum sounds beautiful as a really long reverb on there. So I'll turn the mix up on there. You know, that with a little bit of chorus and even probably like a spring type in front of the amp should be pretty lush on there. Let's check it out. The St. George's Church is pretty awesome on dirty guitars as well. If you like that big kind of lush reverb on your leads, I've just used a little bit of a low cut on here from the stock settings. The mix I've turned up slightly. Let's hear it without and then with. thought that warehouse reverb sounded really cool as well. This with the mix cranked up, doing some volume swells or using a volume pedal, which I'm about to do on here, and combining it with like a pitched delay or something like that is a whole lot of fun. There's a bunch of other new features which have been added in this firmware that I'll take a look at once the full release drops, but hopefully that gives you an idea of what some of the new reverbs do. As always, if you have any other questions, let me know in the comments section below, and if you like what I'm doing here on the channel, you can support me directly via my Patreon or the music that I make with my band Ragdoll. In summary, for the springs, I really like the Studio Spring and the Vibrato King Spring or Tube Spring in front of a clean Fender style amp. They just kind of work really, really nicely. Gold plate is the new all-rounder for me. It's probably just pipped London plate, and I'm going to spend a bit of time with those new hall and cathedral reverbs and play around with them. I really like that marble hall set up as a delay and reverb, so I'll let you hear a little bit more of it after I noodle around with the gold plate on my favorite boogie sound on there. Have a great day. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.